She was doing her thing and then saw Jung's works and said, I got to start over. This is the stuff.
She had already been working on a personality test.
Yeah.
But apparently, according to the legend, threw her work into the fire.
Yeah.
Said, I'm starting from scratch.
It's a little dramatic.
She was a voracious reader, especially of the new psychology books that were coming out of Europe, right?
She didn't read Jung?
She did.
Well, eventually, but
yeah, and then
seems like it kind of came along later.
Well, so yeah, there's kind of a weird discrepancy in the history, and I don't know if it's just it hasn't been covered right or if there is a weird discrepancy, but supposedly she initiated it, and so it would have been contemporary or shortly after Jung's psychology or personality types was translated into English in 1923.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was her daughter Isabel who really took it and ran with it because of World War II and the need for women in the workplace.
Correct. So they, kind of kept some of Jung's stuff, built on that. They kind of stripped some of it away, most notably a lot of the unconscious stuff. And they might have thought that was a little too weird for, the modern American workforce.
Yeah.
So what they ended up coming up with was the MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator.
Right.
Very famously.
Yeah, and they had a publishing arrangement with one group. I can't remember what they were called, but they thought it didn't do very well. And then in 1975, they went with another publisher, CPP, and they're the current publishers of the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. And since then, that's when its ubiquity just really spread, was starting in the 70s. And now it's basically married to corporate America.
Should we take a break?
Sure.
Go get married to corporate America?
Yeah, as if we aren't already.
All right, we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about personality tests in general and then focus in a little more on the MBTI.
Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast too. Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A., member FDIC. This time of year, it's sensory overload everywhere. But one feeling we're all chasing right now is cozy. And Bombas has the socks, slippers, tees, and basically everything you need to get you there.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, there's nothing like new socks. It's almost therapeutic. They have sock scientists at Bombas, and they found a way to channel that energy into everything, from slippers with sink-in cushioning to satisfyingly weighty tees. And that feeling doesn't stop after one wear. Those things stay comfortable.
Yeah, and Bombas is also stepping up their slipper and slide game, too, this season. They've got new shapes, new styles, fluffy things, suede things, a little something for every foot. If there's one thing Bombas knows, it's feet.
That's right. And you know what the best part is? For every pair of Bombas that you purchase, Bombas donates one to someone facing homelessness on your behalf. So anytime you get something cozy, someone else does too.
So head on over to bombas.com/SYSK and use code SYSK for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/SYSK, code SYSK at checkout.
When you give to a nonprofit, how do you measure success? You'll hear a lot about things like low overhead cost and efficient fundraising, but what about the actual impact on people's lives? GiveWell, this episode's sponsor, focuses on that impact.
GiveWell has spent 18 years researching global health and poverty alleviation and only directs funding to the highest impact opportunities they've found. And over 150,000 donors have already trusted GiveWell to direct more than $2.5 billion. Rigorous evidence suggests that these donations will save over 300,000 lives and improve the lives of millions more.
That's right. You can find all their research and recommendations on their site for free. And thanks to donors who choose to sponsor their research, GiveWell doesn't take a cut from your tax-deductible donation to their recommended funds.
If this is your first gift through GiveWell, you can have your donation matched up to $100 before the end of the year or as long as matching funds last. To claim your match, go to GiveWell.org and pick podcast and enter Stuff You Should Know at checkout. Make sure they know that you heard about GiveWell from Stuff You Should Know, all one word, to get your donation matched. Again, that's GiveWell.org, code Stuff You Should Know to donate or find out more.
All right, so personality tests is just, there are many, many ways you can get evaluated psychologically by a professional. This is just one way. And
you can get your head measured with calipers.
Back in the day, they did that, right?
They give you a bunch of drugs and see what you do. There's a lot of ways.
But these tests generally, as Grabster points out, falls into a couple of types, projective and objective. Projective tests are things like the Rorschach test, where you're shown something, some kind of stimulus, and it's open to interpretation, and you tell them what you think about it, and someone sits back very quietly and taps on a pad of paper
Mhm.
and makes an
So
evaluation.
very interesting.
And then objective are more like these personality tests. They're standardized assessments that people use. And while it's subjective what you put down, they are then evaluated again by a professional.
Right, but ultimately that objective name is a bit of a misnomer because on the end of it, it's still interpreted by a person,
Yeah.
which is therefore makes it subjective,
Right.
in which, depending on who you ask, is the fatal flaw of all personality tests.
It should be the like good songs from the 70s had a little parenthetical at the end of the title.
Right,
It should just say subjective also
right,
in parentheses.
baby.
So the big five are, and this is, the big five, I get the feeling, are the psychological tests that legit psychologists are more in favor of over something like the MBTI. Is that
Well,
right?
Yeah, it's not just there's tests to suss out the big five. The big five are the personality types that the field of psychology has come up with. That
Well,
say-
yeah, but the tests that
Yeah.
utilize that,
Right.
they kind of think are more legit than the MBTI.
Yeah, there's not a psychologist alive who uses the MBTI in their regular practice.
Oh, I bet there are.
Not that are speaking up.
I guarantee you there's someone out there.
Yeah,
Sure.
he's a freewheeling type. Or she.
So the big five are extroversion, agreeableness, openness to experience, conscientiousness, and neuroticism.
Right.
Sounds like it could be like a dating site thing that you fill out.
It's funny, every time I see or hear the word neuroticism, a bell goes off in my head. Like ding.
Just a silent bell?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
I don't either, but it draws my attention to it.
So some of these tests, I mean, it depends on what it is. They might not all call them by those exact words, but they're generally using, they call them, like I said, the big five.
Yeah, and I was looking into that big five, and this site, I can't remember what it was called, but they were going over it. Like extroversion is, again, just part of the scientific literature at this point. Agreeableness is like whether how sympathetic or kind or affectionate you are.
Yeah.
Conscientiousness is, are you organized? Are you thorough? Are you the type who shows up on time? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Neuroticism, which is sometimes called emotional stability. How tense are you? How moody? How anxious? Ding. And then like openness to experience, right?
Yeah.
They sometimes call that intellect/imagination. Do you have wide interests?
Yeah.
Are you an imaginative person? Are you insightful? And this site really went to a lot of pains to point out that what you would call these things, the big five personality traits, are, as far as a psychologist is concerned, just one dimension of you, the human being.
Yeah.
And that to get a clearer picture of you, they would also need to study your motivations, your emotions, your attitudes, your abilities, your self-concepts, your social roles, autobiographical memories, your life stories. And if you start to put all these things together, then you can start to kind of approximate the person's personality.
Yeah.
But it would just, it takes a lot of study of an individual and these different components that make up their personality to get a clear picture. So I don't think there are any psychologists walking around saying, oh, the big five personality types are like the beginning and end of a personality.
Right.
It's just, if you put them together, you have just a sketch of somebody's personality, and you should go much deeper if you're analyzing someone.
Yeah, I used to think this stuff was a lot neater when I was younger, and now it kind of gives me a little anxiety.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like I don't know, as far as doing this to myself, and I still enjoy therapy, like that's different, but
Right.
I don't know, because every single one of these, my answer would be, well, it depends.
Well, I think also though, and I don't mean to speak for you, but one of the issues that's comes up for me is if somebody goes to you and says, you rate pretty high on the spectrum of neuroticism, like that's obviously you're going to obsess about that kind of stuff, especially if they're right.
It can make you neurotic.
But yeah, it's a boundary that somebody has just established for you that you may feel the need to stay in, because that's the boundary that you're bound by, whether you are or not.
Like, this is my box.
Right.
I'll live in it.
That would be the reason it raises anxiety for me.
Yeah, well, my whole thing, like I said, though, is just depends. Every single question that I would get asked, well, not everyone. Sometimes I'm pretty, set on something, but usually I'd say, I don't know, depends on the scenario.
Right.
Am I more prone in a crowd to do X or Y? Maybe.
Right.
Maybe not. Depends on my mood.
So one with these other personality tests, and the whole field in psychology of studying personality traits in a quantitative way is called psychometrics.
Yeah.
So with these tests, the more sophisticated ones, if they had a test taker like you, they're designed to get around that. So they're going to ask a bunch of different questions about the same thing, but in different ways, coming from different directions, so that eventually, if you put all of them together and run them through a statistical analysis, they're actually going to come up with your genuine answer, which is kind of one way or another.
Right.
The other way that they get around this, that kind of hemming and hawing, I guess,
Mhm.
is by placing it on a spectrum.
Yeah.
You're not being lumped into one category or another. It's here's one end of the spectrum, here's the other end of the spectrum, and based on your answers, you fall somewhere around the middle,
Yeah.
like almost everybody does.
Right.
If you look at psychometric tests, a legitimate psychometric test is going to basically look like a bell curve.
Yeah.
Where most people are going to be distributed toward the middle.
Yeah. I think that's why it gives me anxiety. It's like, what's the point? Don't box me in.
It's a great question.
Well, I think the second half of this is a lot of what's the point.
Yeah.
You know. So speaking on these tests to see if it's actually, if there is a point, if it's a valid thing to do, there are a couple of measures that one must look at and that psychologists do look at. Is it valid and is it reliable? Valid in the sense that it really is a pretty good reflection of Josh or Chuck or whoever. And is it reliable? So if we take this test tomorrow or a different test that's just, maybe different questions, will it reproduce the same result?
Right.
And that's a big deal. Like if you're talking science and you're trying to have a foundation that says, no, this is science. It's not just a bunch of questions and hippy-dippy questions that we're asking. If you really want real data and science behind it, you have to be able to reproduce it.
Right. One of the other things, too, that these tests are designed to do is to weed out fakers.
Right.
We'll talk a lot more about the Minnesota multi-phasic personality inventory, which is one of the big ones.
Yes.
Probably the most taken personality test in the world.